Hey guys, Chicago injury lawyer Scott DeSalvo here, and in today's video I'm answering a viewer's question. The topic is, what about settlements above insurance policy limits? Well, what do I mean? So, if you watch some of my other videos, you know that the way this usually works is that let's say you have a car accident or you have some kind of accident or injury, right? And let's say your medical bills are $50,000, but the insurance, the other driver's insurance, the person who caused the injury, is only $25,000. Well, does that mean you only get $25,000 and you end up with negative $25,000? Because if your medical bills are 50 and the insurance is 25, does that mean you end up negative and you get no money? No, that's not what that means at all. What actually happens is all the money gets broken down and dispersed amongst people. That's the way it usually happens, but nobody's ever really happy with that outcome. And the reason why is that, it's a small amount of money. But what happens, under what circumstances might you be able to go above policy limits, right? So if there's a 25 policy, are there possibilities and options for you to collect more money, right? So the first thing you need to know is it's state specific. So if you're watching this video outside the state of Illinois, what I'm about to say may or may not apply. There may be completely different mechanisms, right? So, for example, I know that in New Jersey and in Florida, you can immediately demand, as soon as you find out about an injury and you get any of the medical bills and records together, you can demand that the insurance company pay the policy limits, and if they don't within 30 days, or I think it's 30 days, you can whack them for more than the policy limits. So different states have different rules, but Illinois has rules similar to most states. Talk to a lawyer or call me to put you in touch with a lawyer from your state if you are in these circumstances, okay? So how do you get more than the policy limits? Well, the most obvious way is doing an underinsured motorist case. So let's say somebody runs into you, they have a 25 policy, but you have coverage of 100,000 or 300,000 or $500,000, whatever it is. In Illinois, as in most states, there's something called underinsured motorist coverage. That means if somebody hurts you and they have low insurance limits, your underinsured motorist limits step in. Now, in some states, the two amounts stack. So in our example, where the guy who ran into you had 25, but you have 100, in some states, that means you can get 125. In Illinois, insurance policies don't stack. So that means you can get 25 from the person who hurt you and up to 75 from your own insurance company, totaling 100, which is your policy limits in our hypothetical. So those are the most common ways, but I suspect that the person who asked me this question wants to know, is there any way to get at the assets of the person or the company who hurt you? And the answer to that question can be yes, okay? The most common time that happens is when you're suing a gigantic corporation, right? So a lot of times a gigantic corporation will self-insure up to a certain amount of money. So let's say you have a giant corporation, maybe the first $1 million of claims, you'll pay yourself because it lowers your insurance cost. But let's say you've got a case that's worth, you think, $5 million, okay? The self-insured amounts pretty quickly, if you have a lawyer who knows what they're doing, pretty quickly they're going to know that it's going to be more than $1 million claim. And if it's more than $1 million claim, they put their insurance company on notice, because they have the super rich company has insurance that starts at more than $1 million. So the first $1 million the company itself pays, more than $1 million their insurance company pays. And that insurance company may go from $1 million to $3 million, and they may have something called an umbrella policy above the $3 million. Or They may not have an umbrella policy, and anything over 3 million they're going to have to pay. Now, the reason this only works, again, in situations like that, you can make a $10 million demand and they can do whatever they want. They can come to the table and try and settle it for 5, which means the first million comes out of their pocket, the next 2 million comes out of their insurance company's pocket, and then the next 2 million on top of that comes out of the company's pocket, if they can afford it. So if you're talking about Coca-Cola, Google, Apple, Microsoft, Honda, Toyota, giant company like that, they can absorb $1 million losses, right? But if you're dealing with a smaller company, you're going to run into the same problem that you would run into if you tried to get more than the insurance policy limits against an individual. And this is the problem. Let's say the company can't afford the 5 million, but you're steadfast, you want the 5 million no matter what. So you can go to trial. Let's say you go to trial, you win the 5 million. Okay. They pay their insurance, they'll pay the 1 million probably, or maybe they won't. Maybe they'll just go to court and say, we're bankrupt, our insurance has to pay 2 million, but we don't have 3 million to pay. There are different kinds of bankruptcies available for corporations too, that restructure them, and then you'll never collect the full 5 million. You'll collect some small portion of it, or in some cases you'll collect none of it, which is why it only works when you're dealing with a giant corporation. Now with an individual, let's say we're in that same scenario, the guy with 25 grand runs into you, but your medical bills are 50. And you don't have 100 in policy. Let's say you have a 25 policy too, $25,000 in insurance limits. What are the chances that a person who has the state minimum insurance limits has enough money to pay you $25, $50, $100,000 right out of their bank account? Almost no chance that that's going to happen. Almost no chance, right? Instead, what they can do is make you litigate the case for 2 or 3 years, get a judgment. In other words, go to trial on the case, make your lawyer spend $5, $10, $20,000 in witnesses and depositions and all that stuff. Go to trial, get a piece of paper, a judgment, saying that they owe you that money, but then they can go and file for a bankruptcy for $1,500, $2,500, somewhere in that range. That's usually what Chapter 7 bankruptcy attorneys charge, right? And so the average person has credit card bills, they rent, or maybe they have a mortgage, they have a car note, maybe their car is old and junky and they owe way too much money on it, but they're stuck with it. And now here you come along saying, you owe me $150,000. Here's the judgment from court. I want you to pay the money. They're going to look at their financial situation and look at the fact that they owe you $125,000 out of that $150,000, and they're going to call their next call is to a bankruptcy lawyer. And in 3 months, they can rip up your judgment. And they're not going to have to pay any of it, because that's how bankruptcy works. And so doing a settlement above policy limits is hard to do, and it's circumstantial. It only works in certain situations, right? And that's why if you're trying to get more money than what is in the policy, it's usually a really good idea to have an attorney who really understands and knows how to do all this stuff. And they're going to be able to tell you, like, in my office, I have access to a database because I'm an attorney. I'm a licensed attorney, obviously, duh. There's a database that only private investigators, law enforcement, or attorneys, or judges, and people like that can have access to. And it allows me to do a basic asset search on people. But usually, I will tell you, usually what happens is, if somebody's driving around with state minimum insurance, and that's usually the only investigation we need to do. I've been doing this for about 25 years, and I've never had a situation where an individual with a state minimum policy was hiding fabulous assets. That's because if somebody's got a bunch of houses or a big business and they make a bunch of money, they want to get high levels of insurance to protect themselves from lawsuits and having all that taken away from them. So that's how that works. It's not as easy. It's very difficult to do. There are procedures that you have to follow, and those procedures are like state law in the state that you're in. So not easy to do. The last thing I'll say is that if you go to trial and get a judgment, so you go to court and get a judgment, not a settlement, you actually go to court, there's a judge or a judge and a jury, you go through the whole trial, you prove your case, they believe you've proved your case, you've proved your damages, which amounts to, convincing 12 strangers that you're not just doing it for the money, right? You get that piece of paper that's a judgment. Now, in most states, they have bad faith laws, right? What's a bad faith law? If an insurance company has enough information to know that without question, they should have paid you their insurance limits. Depending on the state and depending on the law, it works different in different states. There are ways that you can, if you go to trial and you beat the insurance policy limits and you demanded that they pay them way before. So here's the way it works, okay? You got a big case, you send a policy demand to the insurance company with supporting information like $300,000 in medical bills, a note from a doctor saying they're never going to walk again, or whatever it is, or they need back surgery and they're going to have pain for the rest of their lives. And then you give them 28 days or 30 days to pay their full insurance limit, and they don't do it, you can get them into trouble. And in Illinois, that means going to trial, beating the verdict, then you collect the verdict against the insurance company, but it's actually very difficult to do in Illinois. I don't feel like getting into those details. I think I've answered the question. Hard to do, not easy to do. So anyway, thank you for watching. I appreciate you. I hope you and your family are well. If there's any questions you have, or you or someone you know needs an injury lawyer, please give me a call, 312-500-4500. You can call that number anytime, night or day, 312-500-4500. Free to talk to me, free consultation. So if you're not ready to talk to a lawyer, I have two really cool killer tools on my website that I think you're going to appreciate. One is called the Case Cash Calculator. It tells you what your case might be worth. The other one is called the Good Case Calculator. It tells you whether you might have a good case or a case with some problems. People are loving these tools. I'm getting a ton of positive feedback. Best part is they're free. And you go on my website, the links are in the description, you go on my website, it in like literally 20 seconds, 15 seconds flat, you answer 7 multiple choice questions off the top of your head. So you don't got to go run and get your papers, look at your papers. It's right off the top of your head. 7 multiple choice questions, you get custom information about your injury situation without talking to a lawyer. So I made these from the ground up to help injured people. Check them out if you're not ready to talk to a lawyer. Meanwhile, I've got, I think, 500 or close to 500 videos on my YouTube channel now explaining how different aspects of law work. So make sure you like this video and subscribe so you get notified when I release new videos. Right now I'm doing them twice a week. And you can go to my YouTube channel page and search my videos with your question. There may already be a video that pops up that answers your question, but if there isn't, you can always call. You can always go in the comments section and say, I have a question about blah, blah, blah. And then I'll shoot you a video answering that question. Completely free, and if you subscribe, you'll get notified when it gets released. What else? Oh, finally, if you enjoy my videos, if you have consulted with me, if you're a current or former client, there's a favor you can do for me that I would really appreciate. You don't have to do it if you don't feel comfortable doing it, but if you do it, it would really help me out. Very competitive market for injury in Illinois. We've got a bunch of people from out of state coming in here competing, dropping millions of dollars in advertising, and it's hard to compete because I like a small independent law firm where I have this kind of relationship with my clients. Just, I'm a normal human being, you're a normal human being, we work together. I want to handle the cases I want to handle. I don't want to have partners who are like, oh, that's not a big enough case, we're not going to make enough money. That's not how I like to practice law. I like to help people. So that's why I like to be independent. But to be independent, I need to generate business. Hard to do it against the big boys who are dropping millions. So what you could really do is, if you would find it in your heart to leave a 5-star review for me on Google, there's a link in the description. All you do is click the link, takes you to the page, click 5 stars, say a kind word, hit submit. Literally takes you 5 or 10 seconds, but it is an invaluable favor to me because people really do rely on those Google reviews when deciding who to call to represent them in their case. And after all, that's how I make money. I don't really make money on my YouTube channel, or, I make these videos to help people is the bottom line. And also to let people know I'm out there to be their lawyer, right? I guess it's advertising for me too. Anyway, that's it. Hope you're having a beautiful day. I've got to get in and go to do work. I'm obviously dressed like a slob today because it's a paperwork day. I've got no appointments and I've got a mountain of paperwork to do. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you or anyone you know needs an injury lawyer, please give me a call. Completely free consultation. 312-500-4500. Have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.